There is, based on the research, there is, for most companies, a 4-step pricing process. 4 steps that each of us go through in establishing our pricing. Let's walk through these 4 steps. The first step is to determine what are referred to as pricing boundaries. For every product or service, there is, in terms of pricing, there is a price ceiling. Price ceiling is the most we could possibly charge for that product or service. And then also, in addition to a price ceiling, there is a price floor. Price floor is the absolute least we could ever charge for this product or service. So step 1 in the pricing process is identifying, for this product or service, if I'm selling this pen, what is the price ceiling? What's the most I could charge for this pen? And what's the price floor? What's the least? For some companies, the price floor is my cost, break even. You know, what would I charge just to break even? And that might be my price floor. So that's step 1. What are the pricing boundaries? Step 2 is, once we've identified both the ceiling and the floor, we then look to see, okay, what's going on in the market? What are other people charging for a similar product or service? So we look to fine tune our price to the dynamics of the market. What's going on in the market today? Step 3 is then we establish our price, ceiling, floor. We establish our price based on the factors that we referenced earlier. And then step 4, and maybe the most overlooked step once we've done that, is then we evaluate that pricing decision. Did demand go up? Demand go down? Are they buying more frequently? Are they buying more often? What happened as a result of this pricing strategy? How did it work? Did we achieve the goals that we hoped to achieve? Pricing, we evaluate. Okay. So you do this all the time. You may not have recognized it as the 4-step pricing process, but my guess is anytime you're thinking about the pricing of your product or service, you kind of go through intuitively, you go through this pricing process. And the idea is now you kind of know what it is, and you can be a little more mindful of this particular process. So if you look in your book on the next page, you'll see a variety of different examples of pricing strategies. In fact, there are 19 different examples of pricing strategies there. And just take a moment and look through these examples, see how many of these, if any, you have incorporated into your marketing. How many of these look familiar? Different pricing strategies. Time period pricing, trial pricing, pay one price, unlimited use pricing. I think number 9 is interesting. Price equals performance. The amount customers pay is determined by the performance or value they receive. I know there's a restaurant here in Atlanta. There are no prices on the menu. At the end of your meal, you decide how much you're willing to pay for that meal. It's kind of an interesting strategy. I know Panera Bread experimented with that. If you went into a Panera Bread, a couple of the stores, you would just order whatever you wanted. And once you got it, once you ate it, you then went back and paid for your order based on whether you liked what you got or not. I don't know whether they've continued to do that. It's kind of a risky strategy, but interesting as well. Price equals performance. Captive pricing, number 14, we lock in the customer by selling the system cheap and then profit by selling high margin consumables. So, you know, I've mentioned that I have an affinity for Costco, and whenever I need to buy a new printer, I go to Costco, and they always seem to have really good deals on printers. And so I'll buy the printer as inexpensively as possible, thinking, wow, I got a great deal on that printer. But then where do I end up spending an inordinate amount of money on once I've bought the printer?
Ink.
Yeah, the refills, right? These things that cost like $80 a piece, right? So they hook me with the printer. Who knows? They may be selling the printer at cost, knowing that they're going to make a lot more money when I began having to buy the ink refills. So what I would invite you to do when you look at these different pricing strategies is maybe look for one that you've not incorporated before, something you'd be willing to experiment with, something you'd be willing to just try out maybe with a handful of customers. Just be open to different, because sometimes I think we get locked in on a pricing strategy and maybe unwilling to change or experiment.